Hello, and welcome to the FanFiction Book Club podcast, a weekly podcast that explores the good, the bad, and the cringy of fanfiction, hosted by me, Poppy, and my lovely co-hosts, SG.
Hello.
Ollie.
Hiya.
And Tstan.
Hello.
Every month, we scour the internet to bring you 4 different fanfic reads, and our theme this month is Cinderella. Check out our website at fanfictionbookclub.com or follow us on Twitter and Instagram at fanfictionados for the full lineup of stories for the month and connect with us on the web. Oh, so Cinderella.
Yes, Cinderella.
Personally, Cinderella was my favorite Disney princess growing up. I was her for Halloween one year.
I was also her for Halloween 2 years in a row.
2 years?
So 1 up to you.
Oh, way to 1 up.
Yeah, 1 plus 1. 2. Got it.
Oh my god.
What about you, Ollie?
Says who?
Says who? 1 plus 1 is 2?
Mm-hmm.
Are you into that new math or that old stuff?
Today I feel like 1 plus 1 equals 4.
All right.
Very good, Jimmy.
Anyways,
What do you think about Cinderella?
so Cinderella isn't my favorite Disney storyline, only because I don't like that Cinderella. It felt like she wasn't able to do anything on her own and she needed help and assistance from everyone around her.
I mean, that's fair. That's a lot of Disney movies.
That doesn't mean I hate Cinderella. Like, I enjoy the movie, and like I probably enjoy the Grimm's fairy tale Cinderella a lot better than Disney's rendition.
Did you guys see the 2015-2016 movie? The live action one with the Downton Abbey chick? Did you guys like it?
And I think that's the best Disney live action adaptation so far. Like,
I agree.
It added new things and it looked really good, and it wasn't just a shot for shot remake, you know?
I did enjoy the fact that it wasn't a shot for shot remake.
Yeah.
For sure. I definitely am a very big fan of the Grimm's version. I don't know. It must have been a really messed up childhood because that's the version I grew up on. And it is gory.
It's quite dark, yes.
Was it read to you, or did you just read it yourself?
Oh no, read it myself.
Okay, that's one thing. That's another thing if, like, mom and dad are sitting you down in bed, and they're like, all right, little Tstan. Little 7-year-old Tstan, what will we read tonight?
And then the crows pecked out their eyes. The end.
Yeah, everyone knows Cindy's story. But our fanfic picks this month kind of put a big twist on that world. So, Poppy, what is our pick for this week?
So our pick for this week, and I begrudgingly say that it was my pick this week, and I apologize for anyone who decided to read it, because it was...
Poppy, why would you say
pretty
that?
Crazy. It's called Once Upon a Trailer Park. It's by Fallen Hero 84. It is on fanfiction.net. If you want to read this insane story, you can find it in our description of this podcast, our description box. But basically, this story is about Ella, and she is a 21-year-old girl who has fallen on hard times. She goes and moves in with her stepsisters, who are Carly and Driz, and they are both smelly individuals.
Very smelly individuals.
Who torture Ella with their stench. And then one day, Ella meets her Princess Charming, who is Kitty, and they fall in love, and they decide to make tequila together.
What do they make it with, Poppy?
They make it with agave that is mixed with American soil, which for some reason, that's how they describe it, is agave mixed with American soil, when they could have just said grown on American soil, but whatever. And they use Carly's sweaty feet.
They bring out her socks, and they put foot sweat in the tequila, and they call it Laundra. Why do they call it Laundra,
like
Poppy?
laundry.
What is the silly reason that they call it Laundra?
Because Ella needed to do some laundry and forgot that day, so they just called it Laundra. That's literally the reason in the story is what like
there was a lot of crazy stuff that happens. So we get to that point in the story where they discover Laundra and they create it, and then it just takes an even crazier turn.
Yeah, so it's called Once Upon a Trailer Park because this all takes place in a trailer park. And Kitty, who is Ella's girlfriend, is the manager of the trailer park's daughter. And Kitty wants to make the trailer park a better place. And they're going to throw this big old party, but they are making liquor illegally in one of the abandoned trailers. And they think that that's fine, especially since they are putting sweaty socks in it. And they think that's totally fine and totally not unsanitary.
Totally FDA approved, question mark.
Totally FDA approved. I mean, the first couple chapters of the story are basically just Carly and Driz stink.
And they bully
and they torture Ella.
With their, yeah.
Yeah, and that's it. That's like all that happens in the first like 2 chapters is like they smell bad and they bully Ella with it. And it's like, okay, we get it. We understand. They're smelly. Chill. And then we move on to meeting Kitty. They're making their laundra. They're super in love, and Kitty's gonna help Ella move out of Carly and Driz's place so that she doesn't have to live in the torture anymore. But then Kitty's like, yo, I actually really like your smell. Like, I love it. I love how you smell like dirty socks.
Yes.
And
she loves how she smells like dirty socks. And she asks Ella to stay with her sisters always, so she can always smell like that.
What a horrible person Kitty
That's
is.
so disgusting.
I said that's a toxic relationship if I've ever heard one.
Yeah.
Like,
yeah, that's the definition of toxic
sadistic
relationships
siblings.
on all sides. Because her sisters...
yeah, it's like, I felt Ella was like the only normal person in this story.
It was.
I don't know that she was even normal. Because she let all this happen to her.
She was the most normal, though. Everyone else was just insane. But she was the only one who thought that smelly feet smelled bad.
And that is disgusting.
Except for Kitty's mom. Kitty's mom was a fan of cleanness.
Yeah.
I think Kitty's mom was the most normal person in this story.
She was definitely the most normal. Yes.
So we move on from there. Kitty likes the fact that Ella smells like a trashy foot bag. And then we go on in the story, and their laundra is becoming a small success on the internet. And a vlogger wants to meet up with them to try out their laundra and promote it in person. And then Kitty decides, let's just have a whole trailer park party for when this vlogger comes into town. And at the same time, this is where the story turns into an even crazier twist that I think is almost on the verge of being rated M, but not quite. Like, they really skirted the line here with this one. You find out...
It was like...
you find out that there is a... Was she a SWAT person? Was she the head of a SWAT team?
Yeah, like
a
SWAT sting operation is about to go down at the party to bust Laundra because they're illegally making liquor
with dirty feet sweat that could give people all kinds of diseases. And so there's this agent named Agent Natalia
just get
Smeller.
Your liquor license.
I know, right? How hard is it to get a liquor license? So her name is Natalia Smeller, and she has apparently had really smelly feet her entire life, and she wants to get Cinderella and Kitty for this whole thing. And at the same time, so you start out with Kitty and Ella's story, and then it switches over to this Natalia Smeller, and then she has a weird thing with her boss that
it's like, where is HR in all
I
this?
know, right? Where does this come from? She has to have meetings with her boss, and her boss is like really into her. I think, should we read that chapter? Where
I think it needs to be read.
I think that chapter needs to be read. I mean,
let the masses know.
Okay, I'm going to read that chapter. It is chapter 12. I had the link in my notes, so I just automatically went to that.
No, I get it.
Part.
I do.
All right, do you want to read it,
Roman
Poppy?
numerals.
Do you want to read it for the class?
Oh my god. Sure. Where should I start?
Just read the whole chapter.
Oh my god. Natalia Smeller was in the middle of putting one author in her shoes, which is a thing that, like, makes your feet smell better. Natalia Smeller was in the middle of putting one author in her shoes when another agent came by the briefing room to speak to her. Agent Smeller, the new deputy director, wants to speak to you. Natalia was a deadpan personality who never showed any emotion, so she headed over to the underground bunker. The ATF operation to take down the trailer park had been Natalia's pet project for months, but now, in only the last week, the department had gotten a new administration. Deputy Director Tess Tregalis had just taken over and no one had met her. Natalia wasn't sure if she would approve of the operation. Natalia arrived at the deputy director's office, a classified government location that was in an underground bunker. It was required by the Bureau that all personnel had to be completely naked when in the presence of the deputy director to avoid any threat of concealed weapons. A lot of people would be uncomfortable at having to meet their boss for the first time while being naked, but Natalia was unfazed by this. Where is HR? Anyway, stripped completely naked and then entered the room. It was an enormous bunker with large white walls, and at the far end was the deputy director sitting at her desk. Agent Smeller, come on in. I've read a lot about you. Good to meet you at last, deputy director, Natalia said in her deadpan voice. Please call me Tess. I may be your boss, but there is no reason to be scared of me. Tess was very young and had long blonde hair and was very attractive. She wore a business suit. Natalia finally arrived in front of her desk and stood still with the solidarity of a government agent. Agent Smeller, Tess said, I hope you don't mind me saying so, but you...
Finish it.
I hope you don't mind me saying so, but you have a very nice naked body. Thank you. I do my best to keep in shape. You also look very nice. Well, I used to be a supermodel, and I did a lot of bikini shoots, so that pretty much required me to stay in shape. I only became head of the bureau when I needed a side gig. Yeah, that's a side gig. I'm sorry to be blunt, but this change in management has come at the worst possible time. You see, we're in the middle of an operation. Tess sniffed around a bit. Agent Smeller, I'm sorry, but is that your feet? I can smell them from here. Yes, Natalia said very stiffly. I suffer from bad foot odor. I've had this problem my entire life. You say it almost like you're proud of it. I'm neither proud nor ashamed of it. It's just a simple fact that I have stinky feet. Aren't you embarrassed? Natalia was confused by such an absurd question. Why would I be embarrassed by things that are true? Well, Tess laughed. I admire your sincerity, and it smells like you're a very hard worker. Because of that, I'm going to let you in on a little secret. Tess took off her shoes, and Natalia caught the smell of Tess's feet from where she stood. I've had stinky feet for years, Tess admitted. It's always been an embarrassing situation, especially during my photo shoots. I was the only supermodel to have it written in her contract that I would never be required to go barefoot on any shoot, no matter what. Natalia remained standing in her stiff position and sniffed a bit. I recognize that scent, Natalia said in her deadpan voice. It smells like you've been wearing those same shoes for 2.5 days. Wow, that's right on the money. You have a good sense of smell. Before working for the government, I used to be the foot smeller on my local girls' basketball team. I went to I went to Wampanoag University back when Haley Haley Tyrone was still fighting to make foot smelling a major, and she was a big inspiration for me. I assume you've heard of her. Of course, Haley Tyrone is world famous. For the next several minutes, the two women swapped a few stories about having stinky feet and the challenges they faced, on how they both tried one offer and foot odor vanquished, but to no avail. Tess found Natalia a little hard to talk to. Nothing could crack her stiff, dry demeanor. Tess wondered if Natalia had ever smiled. She walked over to her. Ancient Smeller, I want you to know that you're very pretty, Tess said warmly, stroking Natalia's hair. And I don't mind the smell of your feet. I'd like to give you a nice hug. I absolutely never break with professionalism while I am on duty, Natalia said in her deadpan voice, not even showing the slightest reaction. Okay, well, maybe sometime when you're off duty, we could grab a drink. I am never off duty. Being an agent of the U.S. government is my identity. I eat, sleep, and breathe my job. Tess sighed and thought, you don't have a particularly sociable personality, Natalia Smeller, but I'll seduce you eventually. Just wait and see. She walked back over to her desk. Well, enough chit-chat, Agent Smeller. Please brief me on your operation. Two girls have been selling Laundra, an illegal and unlicensed tequila concoction, out of this trailer park for months now. It is starting to catch on with the public. I have been planning a SWAT operation to take down the entire park on the day of the park's upcoming social event, which they are calling the Masquerade Ball. These two girls, can you tell me about them? The ringleader is a girl named Kitty. The ringleader is a girl named Kitty and the daughter of the trailer park's manager. However, the other one, named Ella, seems to be providing her with some kind of secret ingredient. I strongly distrust this Ella. She must be some kind of criminal mastermind. I predict we might have to torture her after we arrest her. Very well, said Tess. Well, now that I met you, Agent Smeller, and have been briefed on your operation, I am giving it the go-ahead. You have my permission to carry out this raid and to torture this Ella girl as much as you want. I will, Natalia said and exited the room. Meanwhile, Ella was being tortured mercilessly by Carly, who was shoving her foot in Ella's face. Smell it, Ella, Carly said with glee as she wiggled her toes. Smell it! And Ella did so, hoping her torture would end soon.
Oh.
So this is like, I thought at chapter 4, the story could not get any crazier, and then I read chapter 12, and I was introduced to the Natalia Tess weird romance thing, and I was like, this just turned this up to 11.
Tess is molesting
She
you,
is
Natalia.
molesting her employee!
So
Like,
Not cool.
This whole story gave me the heebie-jeebs, but that...
Yeah, that kind of took the cake. That's, that B-plot.
It's so random and unnecessary.
Extremely unnecessary. And so that happens, and then we move on to chapter 13, and Ella and Kitty meet the vlogger and give her a tour of the property. They're getting ready for the party. And as the story goes on, the vlogger, it turns out, has a stinky foot fetish, just like Kitty, and just like Tess, who is the U.S. government agent. And the vlogger develops a relationship with one of Ella's sisters and is just like in love with how dirty she is. She loves the fact that she never changes her underwear. She always has dirty feet and she smells all the time. And they eventually get married?
Yeah.
Did you guys catch that?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So they eventually get married.
Yeah.
And then the other stepsister
feel
becomes like a sister wife.
Yeah. Literally a sister wife.
Yeah. Taking the sister wife to a whole new level.
So they go off and get married.
And they're like,
uh-huh.
as long as there's no incest. That was a stipulation. No incest.
Yeah, sister wives, no
Because that's
incest.
Yeah. It's very much a package deal.
Yeah. So
I
then
would agree.
they secretly, I don't know if they secretly, but they just like leave at one point. And then Kitty and Ella are arrested by a bust that Natalia did on their site at the trailer park. And then they're being tortured at the end. And this is where it just got really confusing. I'm going to have to read through my notes to understand. I don't understand how this story ended because it didn't really There was no real climax to it.
I know. So the story ends with Kitty and Ella, they're in jail. And so Natalia's in the trailer park. So Natalia had smelled Kitty and Ella's feet. And she was using a sock from Carly to compare. And she goes, whoa, these girls don't smell like the stinky sock. They can't be the culprit behind this. And so she goes and smells all of the women's feet in the land of the trailer park
for
to find
a $1,000 Gucci gift card.
That's what they say, but they really mean they're going to arrest them. And smells everyone's feet. Can't find it because Carly left. They all of them straight up left, which I don't know how they're going to make Londra without Carly's feet, but whatever. Natalia meets a girl named Samantha who also has stinky feet, and Samantha and Natalia run away together, leaving Tess heartbroken because Tess loved her. And so here's another excerpt. Tess looked brokenhearted. Ella could see that although she couldn't verbalize it, Tess had been madly in love with Natalia. Well, Tess said bitterly, I guess this case falls on me now. I'm just going to order you two girls to be executed and have it all over with. Wait, Ella said. Look, I confess, we did it. We made Londra and sold it illegally, but is this really necessary? I mean, all we did was bring a little joy to people's lives. Haven't you ever just kicked back with a drink and had a little fun, Tess? No, Tess said dryly. Well, you should try it sometime. It's really nice. Why not? It's contraband now. Tess poured herself a drink and then took a sip. Say, this is pretty good. You know something, Ella and Kitty? It doesn't really make sense for us to be enemies. We could achieve so much more by working together. How about I let you out of that prison cell? And she released them. Now, Tess said, how about can live with me inside my $1 billion mansion? So she goes from going to execute them to inviting them to live with her.
Did she say that?
Yeah.
I don't remember her
like,
going to live with her.
Yes. Well, they didn't accept it.
Well, they declined. They say, we're happy living in the trailer park.
Oh, okay. You didn't get all the way down to, well, butter my biscuits and call me a... Oh, wait, it was butter my butt and call me a biscuit. You two must really
Look like
love
that
each
should
other.
be cased behind bars.
Oh my gosh.
So they get the blessing of Tess to make as much Londra as they want, which they can't because Carly is gone now, and they live happily ever after.
Yay.
That is how the story ends.
Wow.
I want to say for the record, Poppy, I love you. It's the worst thing I've ever had to read with my own two eyes.
Is this worse than the fic that shall not be named?
Yes.
Really?
Honestly,
Yes.
I would rather read this than that.
This fanfiction, I saw the title of it, I saw that it was complete, and I was like, sure, let's go with that one. And that is the only information that I had about this fanfic. I had no idea where this was going to go. And I apologize profusely that I made you guys read this.
I was
It's just getting worse and worse.
Yeah, because I thought so.
I had to walk away.
You had to walk away?
Yeah, I had to like stand up and like take a break from reading.
I was gonna say, that's what makes the difference for me between this and the fanfic that shall not be named, is that the one that shall not be named, I read all the way through. I had to get up and walk away from this one.
But
okay.
But the funny thing for me is, Tstan, is that I read this story in one sitting. My eyes got wider and wider as I read, and my mouth dropped more and more. But I was able to sit through it, while the fic that shall not be named, I had to stop after chapter 2 and like take a break for a bit. Like, what am I reading?
Oh, we have very different thresholds on the weirdness.
But the thing about this story and what makes it so weird for me, because in an odd way, I kind of enjoyed it. I kind of enjoyed it as a crack fic. And for those who don't know, a crack fic is a fictional story that takes place in a fandom where the author is making fun of the characters in a scenario and like purposefully pushing the boundaries and being as crazy as possible. And so I don't know if this was actually a crack fic. I'd like to think it was, because the writing style didn't offend me and the character development didn't offend me. I was horrified by the content, but as far as like grammar and character development and everything for a short 18, what was this? I think this was short. I think it was like 18K story.
18K.
Yeah.
I was okay with it. It seems like in these stories, I don't know if it's because fan fiction is a way for people to just write a story and not necessarily do character development because people already know from the main fandom what the personality of that character is like. I don't know if I'm just being more forgiving on the character development because of that, but the other side characters,
probably.
Yeah, the other side characters, Ella and Kitty were kind of blah, but Prince Kit and Cinderella were blah in OG Cinderella. And then the sisters, Carly and Driz, were I think they were pretty well thought out. They were nasty ladies, and the dialogue really pushed that as you go through the story. I think that the vlogger, being a side character, she didn't really need much character development. But I was very interested in Tess and Natalia's story, because that was just crazy. That was just an insane scenario that I was not expecting in any way, shape, or form. Completely out of the blue. But the author really established that Natalia is a straight-laced cop, and her deputy director is just a naughty lady who wants Natalia. I mean, their characters have motivations, and they do things that fit with their motivations. The only thing writing-wise that I was really disappointed by was the ending, because it just kind of seemed like, just like, oh, well, I'm done.
They wrapped it up pretty quickly.
It was pretty quick. And
just stuck a bow on it,
Yeah, considering how...
But if you think about it, Cinderella was the same thing, right? Which is like happily ever after.
Yeah, because I can't really remember how Cinderella ended. Because all I really remember is she runs back to the house. And then it's kind of...
so Cinderella, after the ball, she goes back to her house. Then her stepmother finds out that it was Cinderella that was at the ball, locks her in her room. The prince is going around trying on all the shoes on all the women. Cinderella's the last person. She breaks out of the room and is like, wait, me! And she tries on the other shoe and they're like, it's you're a perfect fit. And then they run off and get married and live happily ever after.
Yeah, that's it.
Okay.
It had more of a decline. Like, it was pretty fast, but like it jumped time, you know? So like from her getting the shoe and going off with the prince to them getting married, like it was the next scene, but it could have been any point in the future, you know?
Yeah, that's true.
It jumped time. With this one, it was just like...
It was just kind of...
They're in jail.
The next day.
They're out of jail. Yeah. Making laundress somehow.
Yeah, like... so the ending was kind of for me. But I don't know, do you guys think, when you guys read this, did you guys think it was like a crack fic? Did that thought even come up to you? Like, this person is purposefully making this ridiculous? Or did you just think this is someone's weird fantasy?
Parody, like it was supposed to be a funny twist. Like they're in like a good mood to make something funny, and they just, I don't know, it's happened to write 18,000 words.
It was offsetting. It was very offsetting, but
the genre is parody and fantasy. So
is it parody?
Yeah, so they definitely they meant for it to be a parody.
So this person gets it. Whoever this author is. Fallen Hero 84.
Fallen Hero 84.
So I'm kind of conflicted on this story, because from a writing perspective and character development and originality on some level, like it's a really interesting twist and perspective, and the fact that they took the time to write this, like, kind of kudos to them for putting this story out there.
Yeah, very true.
But at the same time, if we were not in this book club, once I got to chapter 4, I would have not read any further.
Also true.
So like I'm impressed by it, but I'm also turned off by this fic at the same time for kind of my general thoughts on on the story.
I would never want to kink shame. However, I wanted to acknowledge that this is parody, obviously.
Yeah.
But also it reads like somebody's like their personal like, yes, this is everything I love and more.
Yes. So that's
it made me uncomfortable. But again, no kink shaming. Everyone do whatever you want, I don't care.
Yeah, because I the way I read it, I didn't see it was a parody and a fantasy. So I started reading it just thinking it was somebody doing like a self-insertion, like, oh, I'm Ella and I live in a trailer park and I like women. So I found this lovely girl Kitty to fall in love with, and I just have these nasty people that I live with. And then you get to this weird point where the smelly feet thing isn't just a sisters thing. It's like everyone in the story is getting into it. And I'm thinking, this can't be somebody's personal fetish. And then we got to the Tess Natalia part, and I'm like, okay, this has to be a joke. Because that is just the craziest thing in combination with stinky feet. To also have a fetish of wanting your employee to be naked in front of you with stinky feet in your office. That just seems like they're just trying to come up with the most outlandish thing at that point.
Yeah.
So, but that makes
a lot of sense.
Wild. That's why you read the tags. I did not read the tags.
Yeah.
And this story...
Everyone's gay. Everyone has a foot fetish.
Everyone's gay. Everyone has a foot fetish. Once upon a trailer park.
This was all women. There was no men in this story.
There were no men in this story. No, that's so true. Yeah.
All women.
Because I have a character list. There's Ella, Carly, Driz, Kitty, Brenda, Kitty's mom, the agent Natalia, deputy director Tess, and then Murphy Braun, the vlogger, who is also a girl. So yeah, this is a very women-centric story.
And they even mentioned the women NBA.
They did.
WNBA.
But yeah,
they did do that.
So not even a mention of a man or men.
Which is impressive for
impressive.
A story about a quote-unquote princess with a Prince Charming. But there wasn't really a Prince Charming in this. I don't know that Kitty was really a Prince Charming.
Kitty?
Well, Kitty was supposed to be Kit.
I know Kitty was supposed to be Kit, but nothing about Kitty seemed like she wanted to help Cinderella out of her situation into something better.
No, Kitty sucked.
That's entirely fair.
Like, Kitty... Like Cindy and Driz were intentionally bad people, but Kitty was supposed to be a good person, and she sucked.
Yeah. Like, she started out kind of seeming nice, and then she's...
Yeah.
Pushing...
And then she wanted Ella to stay in her situation for her own selfish reasons.
Yeah. Which is not cool in any relationship. And I feel really bad for Ella in this story, because she's already on hard times. She has to move in with her sisters. She sleeps on a pile of socks. Dirty socks at that. And her sisters are just nasty people. I was almost kind of, I don't know, like offended on their behalf, almost. The sisters, just because of how nasty they were being described as. But then as the story went on, you hear like their dialogue about how they revel in the fact that they wear the same underwear for 2 weeks straight and things like that. And it's just like, oh, you guys are the worst. They just got worse and worse and worse. Like, I wanted there to be a silver lining to their character arc, but they were just nasty ladies.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
There was also a lot of fat shaming in this story.
Yes!
Which
there was a lot of
really
fat shaming.
Uncomfortable.
That made me kind of uncomfortable too. I tried to just kind of see it as just specifically being these two characters, but it was on the verge of fat shaming. Because I understand, like, I'm fine if you're using fat to describe a character, but if you're doing it in a way that's generalizing an entire group of people, versus just being a descriptor of two specific characters, it was like right on the verge for me, because I was reading it and I was thinking, is this fat shaming or is this describing a character? Because
they just used it as something negative to describe them.
Yeah, but it was used in a negative connotation. It wasn't just they're fat. Because your fat's one thing, but it's like, these guys, they're fat, smelly pigs. Which is a horrible thing to say. I think there's a better way the author could have said that, but I understand in their shoes where they're coming from with that description. I just wish that maybe there was also another fat character who was very clean and very nice or something, just to kind of offset that just because you're overweight or anything doesn't mean that you're a nasty person or that you don't change your underwear or anything. Or maybe one sister was fat and one sister was skinny to kind of offset that no matter what.
And they both acted the same?
Yeah, and they both acted the same way. That would be one thing, but yeah, that was a little iffy for me, but I do understand where they're coming from. Because not every author can be woke, unfortunately.
Yeah.
But yeah, I'm glad you brought that up, Poppy. So that's kind of plots and general thoughts. Are there any other general thoughts that you guys had or wanted to bring up?
I would have to say that this was a learning experience.
Yeah. In what way?
In that, you know, I tend to curate my stuff very heavily. So it was interesting having something where I had no idea what was going to be in here. And I'm very appreciative of tags, and there were next to none. So it was a surprise, lovely surprise.
So do you read stuff on fanfic at all, Tstan?
I do not anymore because of the lack of tags, that sort of thing.
Yeah, because AO3 kind of they kind of spoil you in that regard. And we have a couple stories this month that are on AO3, so people can get the kind of difference in how to curate your fanfic.
Yes.
And those are the two that are objectively better stories.
Yeah, because I want to find really, really good stuff. But yeah, I think this book was interesting. So that was the plot. Do you guys have any comments on the writing style or anything? Or
the writing wasn't bad. It wasn't like horribly misspelled. I could read it.
Yeah.
It felt very
the grammar
like
was
what
fine.
we did when we were kids.
Yeah.
It feels middle school, high school, and there's nothing wrong with that.
Yeah, it's just simple writing. It's not trying to. It's like those popcorn rom-com novels or whatever that you see on the shelves nowadays. Like, it's just really easy to just get through it and finish the story, and you're never stuck on a word except for that college.
Oh God. Well,
I don't even think I spelled that in my head. I just saw like, oh, it's a W word. Let's keep going.
Although I do, now that we've said this, it made me realize this was probably like, I bet this was like a group of high schoolers like we were, who were like, let's just write the weirdest story we possibly can.
Yeah.
And post it on fanfic.
That's fair.
.net.
And this
I bet
that's published last year.
Yeah, it was published in 2019.
And it was finished this year in January. So
yeah,
I can totally see a bunch of high schoolers like, oh, this is stupid, let's do it.
So
it looks like the author has another Disney story.
Oh, do
and they also have like some Star Wars fan fiction here. So they do like taking a spin on other.
Are they all AU
topics.
Type stories?
Yes.
I believe so.
And AU stands for alternate universe.
For
people who
the
don't
Star
know.
Wars ones, it looks like Star Wars is no AU, but the other is an AU.
Okay.
It looks like it's the Little Mermaid with someone named Korra instead of Ariel.
What's the synopsis?
It's called Ocean Song, a new and more adult take on the classic story by Hans Christian Andersen. Cora is a mermaid. She is 111 years old, going through a divorce and the death of her mother. She has never been interested in the overworld before, but suddenly it calls to her. She becomes a human and becomes involved in the French Revolution. Well, that took a turn.
I did not see the 111 at first. I only saw it as 11. I was like, 11-year-old?
Oh, wow. Well, that's interesting. Maybe if we cover The Little Mermaid, maybe we'll think about that for a pick. Because I'm interested in this author's perspective, because I have not read anything like this before.
It's not complete. It's a work in progress, so.
Oh, we'll forget that. Maybe it'll be done by the time we get there. By the time we get to that
we'll keep it on the back burner.
Yeah. Well, cool. How well do you guys feel that the author stuck to the Cinderella fandom? I think they did a pretty good job at keeping it.
I mean,
they hit all the beats while it being in the
trailer part,
the crazy story that it was.
Uh-huh.
Like they had the ball, like they had the princess and the Cinderella and the evil stepsisters. They didn't have a stepmother.
They didn't need one, but they had the evil step part. Yeah.
Yeah, I think they stuck to it well enough.
So what would you guys rate this fanfic?
Out of 1 to 10?
Out of 5 glass slippers, what would you rate this fanfic?
1.5.
1.5?
Glass slippers.
That's harsh, Poppy.
Yep.
What about you, Tstan?
I am also going to agree with Poppy, because we had the same instance of having to walk away. I also think it's a 1.5. I mean, if they wanted to horrify people, 10 out of 10.
Yes, they definitely got a 10 out of 10 in that. What about you, Ollie?
I feel like I would give it a 2. It was like a horrifying story to read, but it was actually pretty well written. It wasn't like, it didn't sound like it was written by a child. So it was like an easy read and I wasn't stumbling over their words. So in that regards, I give it a 2.
Out of 5 totally or out of 10?
2 out of 5 glass slippers.
I would give it, I think I agree with you, Ollie. I think I'd give it 2, possibly 2.25 glass slippers. Because I was surprised for how crazy this story was, how easily I was able to still follow along, even though it just was devolving into insanity. I could still follow it, because there's stories out there that people write, and you're like, what? I can't even compute what's happening right now. So 2.25 glass slippers out of 5 glass slippers for me as well.
I think that's totally fair.
Yeah.
Agreed.
Thank you for listening to the FanFiction Book Club. Our pick this week was Once Upon a Trailer Park by Fallen Hero 84. You can find this story and more of the author's works on fanfiction.net. The works discussed on the FanFiction Book Club are not our own. All characters mentioned belong to their original authors. Theme song is Funkorama by Kevin MacLeod. You can find more of Kevin's music on incompetech.filmmusic.io/artists/Kevin-MacLeod. If you want to know what story we will be reviewing next week and for the rest of the month, please check us out on Twitter and Instagram. We will be posting the rest of the stories that we will be reviewing for the month. And until next week, bye!
Bye!